Hello and good morning and welcome to SEO Consulting Live. My name is Martin Crowson and I'm your host today. And as ever, I'm joined by the MD of SCLO, Steve O'Hare. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Morning, Martin. Very well, thank you. How's yourself?
Yeah, all right, thank you. Very good. Today we're going to be talking about the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. We did a video on exactly that subject around 5 months ago now, when the scheme was just about to be kicked off in the UK. 5 months later, things are up and running. So we are going to provide you with hints and tips and updates about how things have gone so far and what can be learned for anyone looking to get involved in the fund. So let's start by going back a little bit first, Steve, and just explaining to people what the UK Shared Prosperity Fund is, how it's come about, and what it used to be.
Okay, yeah, sure. So UKSPF, that's what we'll call it, because I can't keep saying UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So UKSPF is the replacement for European funding. So when we were in the European Union, we had a significant amount of funds that came from Europe that enabled the UK to do a range of different types of activities that were predominantly based around supporting those most in need, supporting businesses, and improving the local environment and local communities. So that was all something called the European Social Fund or the European Regional Development Fund.
Okay.
When we came out of Europe, the government needed to have a replacement, and UKSPF is what we had. So, as you say, it sort of kicked off in earnest sort of 5-6 months ago. It's been sort of bubbling away for a while. So UKSPF was meant to start in 2022. So we sort of had stuff start sort of this time last year, or a little bit before this time last year. But we've slowly started to build with a variety of different things. So within UKSPF, there's 4 streams. So the first one that came to everyone's attention, and we've done numerous activities and events and briefing stuff on, was Multiply. So this was Rishi Sunak's vision of getting everybody better at maths. And to be fair, that's been okay. For something that is quite a narrow type of program, there's actually been fairly good take-up. Programs are running all over the country. What the original vision for what Multiply is perhaps didn't happen, but in terms of organisations doing stuff on a local level, it's been quite successful in terms of getting different types of activity done all around the maths agenda. And that's all been done either at a local authority level. So for you and I, Martin, that's our Leicestershire County Council. We'll be running programs. They've got a program that's running at the moment. Or if you're in other parts of the country that's got a combined mayoral authority, then it's them. So the likes of Greater Manchester, London, West Yorkshire, etc. They've got their own sorts of pieces. So outside of Multiply, there's 3 other streams. So they had the communities and place and supporting local businesses. Sort of came on in 22 and then more into 23. So programs for those are now up and running. And more recently, and more akin to a lot of what SCLO does, the people and skills piece is started to have a few projects start to get off the ground. Quite a significant amount of procurement actually starting and ongoing at the moment, and will be ongoing into sort of like the first sort of quarter of next year, 2024, which is quite frightening.
I think so. Yeah, nearly there.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we are.
Okay. And what sort of things have been released so far? You know, you just touched on some of the projects are just starting to kick off there. Specifically, what have they been?
Yeah, so we're going to focus around people and skills this morning. So there's been quite a raft and range of different things, but fundamentally very, very similar to what we saw with the European projects that we're running within this marketplace. So things that we've seen have been like NEAT projects, so they're supporting under 24s predominantly who are not in education, employment or training, which is a group that there was a massive concern that with all the lockdowns and stuff that we had 3 years ago, that they would be the group that were most affected. Thankfully, NEAT numbers haven't really spiked as could have happened, but there is still a challenge, particularly with those that are 19, funnily enough, and they were the groups that were affected quite significantly by blips in education and different things happening to them, and at an age where you're quite sort of young and impressionable. So we've seen neat projects come out. We've got things that, so one that I'm looking at the minute for a customer is in Chesterfield. So they've got two things they're looking at doing. So one's a work readiness program. So that's designed to sort of support those that are quite far from the labour market, that need that bit of additional support to get onto sort of like the more mainstream projects. So, you know, the AEB type activity that we talk about on a fairly regular basis. And they've also got a digital inclusion program. So actually trying to support a bit like the maths program for those that really need maths help, for those that really need help to get online. And ultimately we're doing this online, but there are still quite a proportion of people that are still not quite IT savvy or don't have access to IT. And that does have quite a detrimental effect on them in their lives, because they can't access services, they can't, you know, use a range of different things that a lot of us take for granted because we've just kind of got used to using IT for everything. Similarly, there's stuff to support people that are actually in work, so actually in work upskilling, lower skilled people getting skills to sort of help them get back into work. But there is still a range of areas that haven't even come out to market. So the timing of this stream is quite interesting. I'm actually going to go with the customer in a couple of hours' time to go and meet with my local council, which is Blaydon District Council, because they've got a round table to sort of make a decision what they want to do with their funding for the remaining 15 months that they've got it for. So they've invited a group of interested parties to come and try and inform their thinking and thought process. So it's quite nice going to a meeting that's 3 miles down the road from my house, and actually talk about something that is, you know, directly affects where I live, rather than doing stuff all around the country, which I normally do, which is a bit different for today.
Sure. Just a quick nip in here to say, if you've got any questions while we're talking today on this subject, please pop them in the comments box below, and we'll do our best to answer them during the broadcast, or if not, if we don't have enough time, Steve will get onto those afterwards when we've finished. Just touching on what you said there, Steve, just explain a little bit more about how that works. So as an organisation, if me and you work for that organisation and we were looking for this sort of work, is it up to us to approach our local authorities to say, hello, you know, this is what we do, we're available, what are you thinking? Or you just said there that in Blaby's case, they were inviting people to come forward for a meeting. What's that blend of us being, you know, we're here, or do we wait for the invite?
Oh, the proactive reactive split. No, it's a really, really good question. Personally, with the way that things are structured and where things are with time, the more proactive you can be, and the more you can actually go and engage, the better it will be for you. What we've got with this sort of like ultra devolution of funding is you've got groups of local authority levels that aren't used to buying these types of services. They're not used to going out and buying a program to support people with their skills. They're not used to going out and procuring a maths provision across an area, because, you know, previously this was done by central groups, the Department for Education in the previous guise as the Education Skills Funding Agency, the Department for Work and Pensions, National Lottery. These were the guys that were doing this previously, and those contracts finished in March this year. So this is new for these organisations. They genuinely a little bit, you know, how can you help us, or what's the most benefit for us? So the more proactive you can be, the better, because ultimately you'll find out about things that are going on. You'll be able to respond quicker. You'll be able to get out and you know, be there sort of like that, the face to the face that can help. And
just going off piece slightly, Steve, just to interrupt, sorry, just go off piece slightly. Are these awarding authorities having to bring people into their setup who know about this to be able to do the right job?
Ultimately, you know, they need support. So actually, if you as in the market can actually help guide and shape, then ultimately it's better for everybody.
Okay. I know you've just said that you just started working with some of these companies who are getting involved in the UKSPF, but from the early stages, have you picked anything up, any hints or tips or any patterns that you either surprised you or you thought, yeah, that's what we expected?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things that we just need to think about. So first thing is the wheel hasn't been reinvented. I think that's the really important message, is that in terms of what worked well previously is what's going to work well in the future. So there's a real opportunity to look at things that we've done previously and think, oh, actually, we know this works, we know this process works. A lot of stuff that's being asked for is being based on evidence. So please, tell us about what worked well previously and what we could use going forward in terms of that type of process. So the wheel certainly is still the wheel. It's just got a different colour logo on it, more so than anything. And actually, you're buying your wheel from or you're going to a different place to sell your wheel to, rather than the sort of like central government functions that we had previously. But fundamentally, it's the same. The second bit is one size definitely doesn't fit all. So although in terms of the types of activity are very similar to what we had procured on a sort of like a national basis previously, not every area wants the same thing. So every area will want something different. There's not a set piece in every single area. Everybody would like something slightly different within each area that they operate, and then that will be on where their biggest challenges are, or what they perceive as their biggest challenges, or where they feel that the biggest hole was left with European funding being removed. So there's a horses for courses and variation on themes within areas, even though they are kind of the same broad things that we saw nationally previously. And then sort of like the final sort of bit of the big three, I suppose, is that the ultra localism. And there's no two ways about it. We are talking about an ultra local type program. The whole point of this levelling up agenda in the UKSPF was to really give almost like power to the people and devolve that decision making process down to we're talking at district levels. That's district or county levels, rather than things were at a LEP level, so local enterprise partnership level, or before that a regional development agency level. We're talking about a fairly significantly more lower and more concentrated area. So really need to understand where it is that you want to be working, because me saying, and this is a prime example of what I'm doing today, rattling on about Leicester isn't going to get people in Blaby overly excited, to be honest, because actually that's the city. This is Blaby. What are we going to be doing in Blaby? That's the key thing. It's the city is somewhere it's different. It's got its own pot and it's got its own challenges. So that's the sort of like the key sort of three messages. Stuff is kind of the same. Make sure that we're ultra local, and there's going to be horses for courses in terms of what people would like to have within their areas.
Yeah, but in terms of organisations looking to get involved, be proactive.
Absolutely, yeah, be proactive, because there's still, there's a lot. There's been quite a lot come to market that people have been able to tender for and engage with, but there's still plenty more to come.
Okay, we're running out of time, Steve. So just finally, because of the ultra localisation of the new SPF, UKSPF, do you expect any teething problems in terms of bringing this in? It used to be European money. Now we're going sort of right into a localised hole. There's bound to be difficulties. How easy will it be to overcome those difficulties in the next 6, 12, 18 months?
Well, there's always a challenge whenever you change something, isn't there? So, things have been a little bit slower. I think that's the main challenges, and I think that's fundamentally down to you've got organisations that are doing this for the first time, and that will always inevitably make things go a little bit slower than people would have wanted, or they would have preferred it perhaps to go a little bit faster. So in terms of what organisations can do, it's talking, be open, be honest, and bring experience of how things work well, into the environment and make those suggestions and try and solve a problem rather than being expected to be spoon fed on things. It's almost like, well, we know that this works, so let's do this, and this might be a solution to your challenge, Mr. Local Authority, or Mrs. Local Authority, or they local authority.
Well done. A good point to finish on. Thanks a lot, Steve. Been really good talking to you this morning.
And
Thanks
yourself,
for your information as well. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about what SCLO Consulting can do, please visit the website. We've also got several videos online on our YouTube channel covering all sorts of topics that you might find useful for your organisation. So go and check us out there, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to find out when we're next going to be online. If you need to email Steve for anything, the address is on the bottom of the screen right now. That just leaves me, Martin Crowson, time to say once again, thanks a lot to Steve, and thank you for joining us here on SCLO Consulting Live. We'll be back again soon. Thanks a lot for joining us, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.